Okay, so we're doing, it's 6 years later, Leftovers Chat. As always, this is Ethan. I'm in America, and I've seen the show a whole lot. With me is Benji. He's in the UK. He hasn't seen it, except he's watching it live with me as we go. Hi, Benji.
How you doing?
I'm good. Let me see what's going on. The last episode we did was No Room at the Inn, about Matt Jameson and trying to get into town. Season 2, Episode 6, Lens. And before we get started on these later episodes of Season 2, I want to ask you what you thought of it.
Overall impression of Lens, just to be sure, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I said last week that No Room at the Inn was my favourite episode of Season 2 so far, and possibly the series. Again, I don't know, maybe it's just because this one's fresher in my mind, but this one was right up there with it as a contender for that title. So, no, I thoroughly enjoyed this one. And it's, so those two kind of are in sequence, my two favourite season 2 so far, and the show as a whole. So it's definitely climbing, and it's showing no signs of coming back down yet.
Yeah, and it's going so well, listening to your reaction and talking about it, that if we get one more subscriber, right now we have 8 subscribers. I'll take that back. Right now we have 6 subscribers if you take away me and you. If we can get one more, we'll do a reaction to, or video to here. That's a goal. We might do it anyway. Like, share, subscribe. All right, let's get into it. The Leftovers Season 2, Episode 6. Called Lens. We have a cold open. We open on a scientist discussing correlation and causality, and the departure focusing on the missing girls from Jarden. There's a montage of the scientist driving to Miracle and going through security with all of his gear. He travels on a Jarden tour bus and checks out some of the sights and gets a golf cart to the Murphy house. When Erika answers the door, he asks if this is the home of Evie, and without her answer, takes a picture and goes to the Garvey house where he identifies himself and starts asking Nora questions, again, without permission. The questions are in regards to her proximity to the girls who, quote-unquote, departed. After his continuous questions, he starts using his equipment to scan and get some sort of reading. Nora explodes and kicks him out. He says he is just trying to help and leaves. Erika asks if she is okay. I'm fine, she answers. Credits.
This guy, you've seen The Room, right?
I have seen The Room, yeah.
So was it just me, or did this guy look remarkably similar to our friend Tommy from The Room?
I can see where you'd see it. I don't correlate him with any good movies, except maybe The Disaster Artist, if you liked it.
Right.
Which I enjoyed the book more than the movie. I can see where you would say that.
This guy, there was a couple of things I noticed about his, the significance of his character and the way he and Miracle sort of interact with each other. So like when he's on the tour bus, for example, you see he's really kind of out of place against all these other tourists, really, is what they are, who are there. They look happy to be there. They're kind of staring at all the sights, and he's sort of hanging off the seat, just focused, intent. He's clearly on a different level to these guys in terms of his purpose there, which kind of speaks to the fact that Miracle, for people going there from like a scientific based mindset, they're going to interact differently with the town than the people that go in there just looking for, who almost want to believe, right? The people who, like we saw in earlier episodes, they want to pay money for the holy water. They have that attitude of...
Yeah, and he is going there as a scientist, and he's like, especially when he gets off the bus, he's studying things. He's definitely looking around. He has a goal to get to where he's getting to. But he's definitely noticing all the touristy, religious things happening, and I think he's studying it. You know what I mean? And I think you can tell that you hear that certain people, when they reach a high IQ level and it keeps going up, certainly they lose a little bit of their ability to interact with us lesser IQ'd people sometimes. And he's definitely got some kind of Asperger-y disconnect here going on with human interaction.
Yeah, so next time I mess up my words in this podcast, I'll just blame it on high IQ.
Yeah, well, we don't need to go on with our vicissitudes at this point.
Exactly.
And I also want to point out that, like, let's start to track the Nora Erika interactions. This is the first one, right?
Of this episode.
This episode. Yeah, of this episode. This is what I'm tracking of this episode.
I did note that we saw old Jerry again in the goat. We saw the lady with the wedding dress.
Yeah.
We saw those kind of visual motifs.
Yeah, we're kind of reminded of what's going on with the tour and all that kind of stuff, right? Early the next morning, Nora walks up to the Murphys and throws a rock through the window. As she is getting Mary ready for the day, she gets a call from a woman claiming to be a doctor who works with the man who visited yesterday. Nora quickly hangs up on her. Jill volunteers to feed Mary, so Nora goes to wake up Kevin in the hopes of a peaceful moment before Lily is awoken. She gets a shock as Kevin gets very startled, and this wakes up the baby. You know, after this episode first aired and I watched it, so much happens upon so much. This is like the densest episode, I think, of The Leftovers, that at least this season, of actions happening. I totally forgot that I saw Nora throw this rock in the window the first time. And
yeah.
And right off the bat, it's I guess it has to deal with Matt getting kicked out of town and not being allowed back in.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the clearest cut connection between Nora and the Murphys. John's the one who kind of created that roadblock, and Nora is Matt's brother, so that makes sense. But I don't know, it does seem like there's more to it than just, this isn't a Nora John thing. This is a Nora Erika thing, if you understand. We don't even see John, I think, at this point, and I don't even know if we see him throughout the episode.
We do, but we don't even know. He's not the focus, and
right.
We don't. And I don't think we know yet. I think we're supposed to think she's taking anger out on the house. You know, she probably, if I can dabble in some conjecture, which will happen a lot, she probably had to wake up, realizes that she has to take care of a baby, and
also
Mary, and gets angry that Matt isn't in town, and then goes and takes out her anger the way she does here.
And I mean, Nora can be impulsive. We've seen that on multiple occasions. She was the one who put down that $3 million bid for that very house. So
she's throwing money around left and right.
And rocks.
Right. And Kevin obviously is. So you think Patty's just sitting there watching Kevin and Nora in the morning?
That is a way better guess than what I had. I didn't even have a guess. I didn't have a guess. Sorry, I just thought that was Kevin being weird. No, that makes the most sense. It was either that or, like, I don't know, Jill walked past the door, but I don't know why they would write that scene in.
I'm going to move forward.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. We are now with Erika, who is checking her email in silence as John is talking to her. She turns up her hearing aid so she can hear John tell her that someone threw a rock through their window. A sound that he didn't hear either because he's such a deep sleeper. As she starts to clean up the broken window, a man knocks on the door, and they choose to ignore him. Outside, as the man is leaving, he runs into Nora, who is busy hanging up on another call. He introduces himself as George Brevity from the Department of Sudden Departure. Nora introduces herself as a fellow employee. He states that he is in the secondaries branch and is there to interview the Murphys. He asks for a breakfast recommendation. Before he leaves, he tries to talk to Erika, but she will not stop. Now in this episode, I'm going to be stopping every couple minutes to talk about what we're seeing here because there's so much. I think it's notable here that this guy is, the actor is Joel Murray. He's besides being Bill Murray's brother, he's also in Mad Men and many other characters in this second golden age of television.
I didn't know that stuff about the actor himself, so I wasn't, when he came up on the screen, it wasn't like I instantly clocked on and thought, okay, here's a great character actor, I should probably watch this guy closely. It was just kind of another side character popping up. What I did pay attention to, however, was the email software that Erika was using, which, if you ask me, looked kind of archaic, which is weird because they've got pretty modern iPhones, but that email software is kind of bad. So I don't know what's happening there.
Okay, so right now I'm on a Dell that came with Windows 8, and I have an iPhone. So, I mean, that happens. Erika goes back to the woods and digs up a box that has a dead bird in it. She empties it out on a small pile of other dead birds. In town, she is approached by the mothers of the other missing girls. They want her to talk with the DSD so they can rule out departure. They all signed an NDA, non-disclosure agreement. Erika quickly changes the subject to the fundraiser and what is happening that night. With Regina King with the best line ever to one of the ladies as she leaves, "You smell like alcohol." Well, did you have anything about Erika doing the bird box? Pardon the expression, the bird box scenario?
Yeah, well, obviously when it came up, it flagged up to me immediately. It's like, okay, you should be paying attention to this scene. There's obviously a lot of those, but this was one where we'd seen her do it again. Sorry, not again. We'd seen her do it previously, maybe even episode 1 or 2. But if I remember correctly, in the first time I saw her do this, the bird flew out. Whereas in this case, the bird sadly is dead. And from what we see, there's quite a number of dead birds on the ground. So I don't want to make it sound like I did a better job of interpreting this than I did, because I'm just relying on knowledge from further later down the line in the episode. Sure. But there's obviously something to be said for the fact the contrast between start of the season, Erika with the life and vitality and bird, whereas now it's these just dead birds, and it's like I say, I don't think when I was watching it I was getting quite that far, so I don't want to act like I did. We can come back to the birds later.
And there's another callback to the first episode, and we'll get to it too.
Right. Well, one of the things I said was maybe something to bring up, but maybe also the kind of thing that I bring up and then instantly I'm like, no, it just sounds stupid when you say it out loud. But there was this shot of Erika running through the forest, which was kind of similar to we've seen. We haven't seen her on screen. We haven't seen her on screen for so long that I almost forgot her name. Erika's daughter, Evie. Yeah, like Evie running through the forest. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. But after she sees a dead bird, it feels like the girl's been missing 3 or 4 weeks now, something like that. I feel like she's trying out this bird thing over and over again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right. That's the implication.
So Nora catches up with George at the restaurant. They get into some heavy DSD jargon about the ins and outs of this kind of departure event and lensing. This is one of my 2 audio clips today. Here we go with the audio.
Oh, I thought they'd send someone from regional.
You live in the only municipality with a population above 5,000 with no deeps. 3 girls lifted from here, they're not calling regional.
But they're going to rule it unconfirmed, right?
I'm not going to rule anything till your neighbors talk to me. I administered the new questionnaire to the parents of the other girls. None of the fraud flags found.
There's a new questionnaire?
Uh-huh. The algorithm came from the Japanese. Gave some interesting results.
Can I see it?
Kidding me? They'd fire me. They want me to sleep with this thing under my pillow. I mean, if the questions got corrupted, there'd be no way to confirm the secondary's a real deal.
The real deal.
The girl's Mercedes was found running like a foot just disappeared off the gas pedal. The music's still blasting. All the personal effects are still inside the car. Purses, phones. No sign of any kind of struggle whatsoever. No reason to run. Everybody I've talked to around here says these are good girls. Choir girls. 3 weeks gone and there's not a single sighting of them anywhere. The questionnaire says they lifted. Maybe they lifted.
Can I ask you something stupid?
Favorite kind of question.
Have you ever heard of someone being responsible for another person's departure?
You mean the lensing thing?
Lindsay?
You know, like a lens, like a kid taking a magnifying glass and frying ants with it. The idea is that someone gives off ultraviolet rays or whatnot, causing everyone around them to lift. It was in that Scientific American article they emailed us last month.
All right, so that's a thick, heavy piece of, jargon bothers me when I don't understand, and I had to listen to that a lot. Lifted, what was it? Fraud flags. This lensing theory that Nora seems to be, what's the word?
Maybe it's like a kind of morbid fascination just with it.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, I want to know, but also I really don't want to know, just in case.
But like more than anything, she needs to know because she thinks that's obviously what it is right off the bat, right? So she hears about her family. Originally they sold the house because they wanted to test their family probably for this theory, right? I think she's starting to go a little bit crazy with it, especially after she talks to this guy. And she thinks she is definitely to blame for her children, her husband, and now for Evie. What do you think of the lensing, and what do you think? We got more secondary departure talk here.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't want to go too far ahead with this. We can save it for right near the end of the episode, but this only just occurred to me as you were speaking. So this is basically Nora creating a correlation between her and the departure of her family and now these girls. And she's the one coming up with that correlation. And she's like, maybe I'm responsible for this, and putting that weight on herself. I think this is where the kind of the theme starts this episode, and then it kind of pops up another few times over the course of it, so we can circle back around. Although, sorry, I did have just a question still about that conversation.
Sure.
Sort of, this is the moment, put a kind of pin here and say, Nora is blaming herself for other people departing. Okay, so if we remember that, I can come back to that later. Then, secondly, I was going to ask, what's interesting about this conversation is that the DSD guy who Nora's talking to is obviously, he's I don't know if believe is the right word. He supports the idea of secondary departures happening, which is interesting because when the concept of like secondary departures kind of only really came up in the second season, and all we've seen of it so far is when Nora's kind of pushing it to the side. She talks to Jill about it and says it's always like fraud. And I remember at the time I was saying, well, it's a pretty big deal. Like if secondary departures actually are happening, that's kind of a game changer. And I don't know if we're meant to know at this point, like secondary departures, are they a thing? And if they are, like, are we meant to know that by now?
Well, here's the thing, and here's what I think it speaks to. We've talked before about how this ripple effect is affecting everything. It's changing the ATF to the ATF and cults. It's changing the adoption system. It's changing the insurance, departure insurance to DSD. It is, I don't know if he believes it. I know that he is a man who has a job to do, and he does his job. He is a paper pusher of sorts who believes in the bureaucracy, and apparently this thing is so widespread with the secondaries that a guy from Perfect Strangers is trying to do it. Other people are trying to do it. The guy who ran and Nora found him is trying to do it. So it's become such a pervasive problem where people are just saying they're secondaries. I mean, I don't know if has anyone actually seen anyone else depart a second time, or has it always been a hoax of some kind? Do you know what I mean? So, but he is taking his company stance lock, stock, and barrel. He's saying if the questionnaire says it means they lifted. You know what I mean? So personally, even at this point of the show, and I'm watching it, I don't believe that there are secondary departures because they make the premise of the show so clear that this departure happened. Mm-hmm. And the show is about the world that happened to the people after this one event. So I didn't believe there were departures at this point. So, but that's, do you believe right now that these things are happening?
No.
At the clinic, Erika talks to a recently beat up and hand-printed Dr. Goodhart out of pressing charges against John. When Erika gets home, she finds Lily on Kevin's truck and returns her to Nora. It is here that Erika finds out Nora had children, but Nora does not let Erika know if or how they departed or if they're dead. Nora finds Kevin arguing with the heir and asks him to get ready for the fundraiser. Kevin doesn't think they should go based on how they treated Matt, but Nora says people act strange when they are in that kind of pain, and you should always support your neighbors. So, first things first, Kevin forgets a baby on the truck. Mm-hmm. So that's a problem. We have Erika returning Lily to Nora, so that's their second meeting. Everything seems to be okay. And Nora saying you should always be nice to your neighbor after she threw a rock through the window.
Definitely. And it is, well, back to Kevin for a sec. It is cool. Not cool. Cool isn't the word I was going for. It is interesting to see Kevin's slow kind of deterioration into kind of Kevin Senior state in season 1. And I remember when I was watching those scenes where Kevin would be talking to Kevin Senior, and Kevin Senior would be going off and talking to the heir and whatever you. It's kind of, it was annoying. It's like, come on, man, there's nobody there. Like, I get you crazy, but just a little bit frustrating. You're slowing the scene. I don't know, whatever. Whereas now, because we've been sort of with Kevin along this gradual process and him evolving into this state, it's different. And it's almost like we've arrived at that stage without noticing. Like he's in that kind of same state as Kevin Senior was, but it's not a surprise to us, obviously, because we've seen it happen. But it's almost like, you don't notice it because it's been so incremental.
Just see it from the other side. Seeing it from the other side.
Right.
You know what I mean? You kind of see what he's dealing with when you see Patti talking to him, and he's just walking around trying to deal with it. At this point, he's just exploding with rage every single time that she's there, so much so that he puts on these headphones to drown out Patti, but it ends up drowning out the baby. Like, I can talk to you as being someone who's been in a position before dealing with your baby, that he's really, 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 really distracted and fucked up by Patti right now. There's no bigger sign than leaving your baby in a car. You know what I mean?
Well, we've seen Kevin forget where he's left stuff before.
Oh yeah.
Fortunately, not in the same manner this time, but
forget it.
Yeah, let's cut that short.
Yeah. And there's Nora again acting very contradictory.
It's kind of worrying that she does it so well.
All right, so moving on. Eric and John discuss the reasons why someone would throw a rock through their window and John's anger problem that is worse now that their daughters are missing. Their daughter is missing. Erika spots Jill and Michael getting close. Jill announces that she's going to the fundraiser with Michael, which Nora doesn't seem to care about. Now, Nora gets a call from another scientist. This is my second audio clip.
Hello?
Miss Durst, please don't hang up. It's Alison Herbert again. If I could have one moment, please.
What do you want?
I need to apologize for my colleague, Dr. Quarter. He's a great scientist, but he lacks people skills. He should not have come to your home to collect the data from you without permission.
Data?
Yes. I must say, the measurements he took were very promising. Very. If you'd allow us, we could guarantee their accuracy by replicating them in laboratory conditions.
You think I'm a lens?
You're familiar with this theory?
Not really. I don't, I just read an article.
Miss Durst, you moved to Jordan, a town with no departures, and that very night 3 girls disappeared, one of whom lived next door to you. Yes, we believe you are the lens.
Why? Do you know why me?
Well, this is where our research is, divisive. I would like very much to discuss this in person.
Please just tell me.
Miss Durst, we believe that the Demon Azrael has chosen you as his earthbound instrument. This entity resides in you through no fault of your own and is responsible for the chaos that surrounds you and possibly many others. Dr. Quarto and I have contacted the Vatican.
All right, so now officially in the leftovers, we have the Archangel Azrael as a character. This is 100% real. This is the reason for her lensing and for the departure. Thoughts?
Well, that's is that it? The podcast over?
Yeah, the podcast is over. So they really get you going here, right? And this is like this is a Damon Lindelof from Lost messing with the audience moment. It's also really, really making Nora believe that she is in fact a lens. And you're waiting for some scientific person, because this is a scientist on the line with a scientist that came. So this guy working at the beginning that came to their house is working with her. So we don't know what side he's on. They say the research is divisive. It was really fun watching this with you, with your reaction. It's kind of one of the reasons why I want to do reactions later, because you got a big, you cracked, you were doing what the audience is supposed to be doing. You're watching on the end of the seat, and then your smile cracks open and you sit back and you're like, well, and you kind of felt almost the same relief Nora did, except on a smaller level. Yeah. What do you think of that conversation?
But well, in my mind, you're totally right. I was there thinking to myself, oh dear, this is not good. This is not good for Nora. What is Nora's mental state going to go to? Like, we've seen her progress throughout season 2 to a better place than she was in season 1. And now there's this. Oh, how are they going to deal with this? Wow, I didn't see this coming. Wow. And then Demon, and you're just like, oh, okay. No pressure anymore. It's obviously just, you know it's not going to be of significance plot-wise, and you can sort of, you ease up, you're like, okay, Nora's off the hook on this one. She's like, there's another interesting show somewhere, but this is not it. Right. Yeah.
Erika digs through a huge bag of cash to get to her hearing aid batteries. She spots a teenage boy placing a pie on her doorstep and runs him down hard to find out where he came from. Erika pulls up to Virgil's place and confronts him about sending the pies. He asks if this is about Michael coming to pray with him, a fact Erika didn't know. She warns him to stay away from her family, and he says, I know what I did, and I know I can never make it right. He also reminds her that they are family whether she likes it or not. She leaves, but not before he offers her a bird to take with her.
And you know what? I just realized I totally screwed up earlier when I said we were talking about Erika and the bird thing, and I was saying how she was running, and I was like, ooh, when we saw Evie running, so maybe there's something going on here. I believe what I was referring to is this moment when she's running after the boy. I remembered she did run at one point, but I couldn't remember when it was. So clarification on that.
And it's still not clear to me who Virgil's related to by blood.
Well, yeah, I would imagine it's not a son, though.
Huh? You would imagine?
I would imagine it's not her son, though.
Oh, no, I mean, like, who Virgil is related to.
Oh, you mean out of John and Erika?
And John and Erika, yeah.
Right.
Because, through blood, through one of them, Michael is definitely related to Virgil. And And I don't think it's made clear in the show. Spoiler alert. I don't think we find out. I think we know the general basic family tree a little bit. Just to keep in mind for later. Anything else with these two?
Well, if you skip back just a second, when Erika's looking through the bags of cash, that kind of stood out to me. Like, I don't know. Are they just a well-off family? Or is this meant to be some kind of insight into Erika's mindset and character?
Well, no, she made clear that she went to get the money, and we find out about the money later in the episode. For sure.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Outside of Miracle, Nora takes Mary to visit Matt, who is already out of the stocks. All Matt had to do to get out of the stocks was refuse to let anyone take his place. He says suffering breeds compassion. They discuss Mary and the baby, and they also discuss the fundraiser, and Matt senses that bringing Mary might be seen as hostile by the Murphys. Nora questions why Matt thinks she would be hostile towards them. Before the fundraiser, Erika confronts Michael about going to pray with Virgil. We discover that John went to jail for shooting Virgil. Michael says anyone who asks for forgiveness deserves it, even Virgil. We are still left in the dark about what Virgil did. So we got Matt out of the stocks, which is good. He has, in fact, started a new flock, kind of.
Yeah.
You know, he can't help but try to lead people in that way, and people can't help but to follow him, it looks like, a little bit, at least enough to give him a place to stay.
Well, I mean, if you're looking for a place to set up some kind of religious community or following, it's kind of a good place. You have people who are obviously very open-minded in that camp. But I did think it was interesting that he said, I don't know how much of a time skip there is between this and last episode, but that he's out already. For us, it's only one episode later, and he's out already. And he said, the key was refusing to let someone else take his place, which is obviously a very Matt-like thing to do. But I was wondering, like, would it really happen so soon that somebody else would go up there? And I don't know, maybe it's been a little while since the last episode.
You know, you got to imagine it's been at least a couple days. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess, yeah.
I mean, it's hard to tell. It's also hard to tell judging by when Nora decided to throw the rock through the window. It's kind of hazy now that you talk about it. How long has it been? How long does it take for someone? It feels like new people are joining the camp all the time. Do you know what I mean? And so if someone saw Matt up there and he was the first one that refused to have someone take his place, it's hard to tell. You're right. I can't tell.
Obviously, long enough for Matt to make a name for himself among these guys.
Yeah, and it didn't look. Maybe he didn't make a name, but before he didn't have a place to stay. People weren't helping him, but now he looks like he's got a little spot set up. Someone gave him a chair and a sleeping bag, and waits for his daily.
I mean, it looks kind of at home.
He does look kind of at home, and he's the kind of guy that.
Although this is the same guy who lived in like the garage for a few months, so.
Yeah. He doesn't. He's
pretty low maintenance.
He is low maintenance. He's more low maintenance than me, that's for sure.
There's a Nora as well. This her kind of.
She's more she kind of is a go with the flow person, a low maintenance person. So yeah, my sister-in-law needs help. I'll take care of her. Kind of thing. Like.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I was actually going to say no. I was going to make a point about Nora, which was that she has this same air of like feigned innocence, where she's like, why would it be hostile? I don't know what that word means. But she's a smart girl. So, and she she threw a rock through the window, so I think it's pretty safe for us to assume at this point she knows exactly what she's doing with that.
Yeah, we can discuss that more later. I don't really have much to say about Erika telling Michael not to go pray with him. I mean, it's just good acting. It's getting used to Regina King in this awesome dress for what she's about to do. You know what I mean? It's getting out there that somebody did something. It's getting it out there that we know for sure that the person John shot was Virgil, which is interesting considering the family line we've figured out so far. Yeah. So in the parking lot of the fundraiser, Nora spots George from the DSD and gets an unexpected call from Lori Garvey looking for Tom. She asks Nora to deliver an apology on her behalf if he shows up there. This is another place where I saw your face light up a little bit.
Yeah, I was just relieved we were getting any Laurie and Tommy because I was worried it was going to be like they were just going to force one more episode before the finale and then try and like wrap it all up. And it was like, you know, stuff needs to actually, they need to be on the screen for stuff to happen. So the fact that she's on it, so like, okay, they exist. We're acknowledging that because I've honestly the one part of this season so far that hasn't struck me at all is the Laurie and Tom storyline. Maybe it's the fact that we only got one episode of it. I'm sure that's the biggest part of the problem is that for me it feels like, well, why didn't we just make the whole season this miracle storyline? Like, it's just, I don't know, it feels like it's kind of half done, this other plot, and it's like, well, it would have just been better to not do it at all and save that for a later, I don't know, season 3 or whatever. No, yeah, I don't know. I mean, at the time, my main issue at the time had been how we jumped from this kind of super gung-ho, like, GR Laurie to this, let's take down the establishment, destroy the GR from the inside Laurie, and there was, like, absolutely no, how did we get from A to B there? And so it raised all those questions, and then we didn't, like, we haven't actually come back to any of that yet.
Okay, but this is we have a new blank spot, basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at least it's acknowledging that time has passed, you know,
sure,
between the last time. I think it would have been worse if we just had another episode and it was kind of like, and here we go back to the Tommy and Laurie storyline. Nothing much has happened. Here they are, here's Tommy hugging people, and I don't know, at least this way it's saying, okay, we know we haven't shone as much of a spotlight on them as maybe you want, but stuff is happening to them throughout this time. It's not like we're saving that for...
I can even see the board in the writings room of the show where they say, we need something to remind people of Laurie around here. Mm-hmm. And they do this kind of, right?
People are just about to forget. And then...
Yeah, right. And it's fun that she calls Nora and not Kevin.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Kevin's phone's pretty, it was in a dried up lake. I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. It's bricked and he hasn't updated his iOS.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. I did want to make a note on this here. In the background of this is one of my favorite pieces of music. And, you know, these musical deviations for me are going to start coming heavy right now in this series. Behind Nora talking to Laurie is an acoustic version of Max Richter's Departure theme. It's got like a slow guitar with like a slide guitar over it. It's the same theme as when, you know, the original Departure happens and some of those big leftover piano pieces you hear, except it's done very calmly on like acoustic country instruments, and I love it. It's great. Just wanted to point that out. At the entrance to the fundraiser, we get an exact copy of the PayPal scene from Guest with Nora and the PayPal.
Yeah, I totally picked up on that. And I was like...
And she makes sure she sits right behind DSD George, that's what I call him, and she curtly dismisses the lens theory. Right? She's like, nope, not it. Now we hear the Miracle Choir is definitely missing something since Evie and her friends are gone.
Well, in more than, I mean, it's missing them.
But it's missing them, but it all, you know, it sounds like they made the whole thing sound really good.
Yeah, no, it's not so good on your second time listening to it. I noted that, but the song felt a little bit whole.
And during the ceremony, Nora is eyeing up George's questionnaire and grabs it with poor bewildered Kevin looking on the whole time.
I mean, at this point, Kevin always looks bewildered, so.
He does, but like he's just sitting there like helpless, like he can't do anything. Oh God, she bought a house for $3 million. Oh God, now she's stealing this. He doesn't know who that guy is.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what she's stealing.
Oh, well, at least he's not a cop anymore.
Right, but he's got, Mary he's taking care of. He's got Lily he's taking care of, and he's got Patti there probably.
Yeah.
Right. And so another side note about the Rihanna song on the slideshow. I was not really a big Rihanna fan before. I have seen her live. It was a good show. But I was bummed because this is one of my all-time favorite songs now since being in the show. The song gets me every single time in the lumpy throat area. And it's definitely on my Kevin Garvey jogging playlist. I just love it. Yeah.
What's the name of it again?
I think I should know. I think it's Stay.
Yeah, that's what I could put down, but there's quite a few songs with that name, so I didn't know.
If I look up Rihanna on my phone, it'll be the only one.
I mean, it is kind of interesting. You have that Stay. Obviously, that song, Stay, the whole...
Right.
I don't know how to say it any clearer than it. Stay, don't go,
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. And, this season has lots of, like, musical moments, and the show has lots of musical moments that are just outstanding. I'm really trying to find this here, but I can't now, so. But it's called Stay, but it features somebody else. It's a good song. So during this is where we start to get, if you think we haven't spoken enough about what's going on. What are you doing? Looking up the...
Oh, yeah, I was looking up the song.
Yeah.
No, it is Stay, featuring Mickey Echo.
Okay. And we'd play the whole thing for you right now if that was allowed.
I'll
so
the whole thing right now.
So if you think we haven't talked enough about the leftovers, now comes the second last part of Lens. So during this ceremony and the song, Jerry comes in with a goat. The Gurgich, right?
Mm-hmm.
Erika's emotional outburst is powerful and amazing. She explains that she cannot allow this to happen at her daughter's ceremony. We also find out that Jerry sacrificed a goat and was in jail on the morning of October 14th. The same with the lady in the wedding dress. The town has embraced these traditions after no one went missing on the 14th. Erika questions John about his firm stance on if there are no miracles in Miracle, then why does Jerry get a pass? Mm-hmm. Erika decries the town because nothing they do is keeping them safe or protected, and proof of that is that their daughter is gone. As she drags the goat out, she says she departed. Nora follows her as Kevin watches. This is the first time I got that she said she's departed, maybe because I was watching it with subtitles.
It's a very good scene. I mean, the scene before it was good enough with the music and Nora and Kevin and this whole vibe, and I was like, okay, so here's where the episode peaks, and then we keep on going up. And for one, it's a nice moment because we get to figure out for the first time what exactly is going on with Gurgich and the goat, the wedding dress, all these kind of rituals that the town people have. But what I really want to get into is how it's this theme, right, of people tend to think they're more important than they are, and everybody's kind of assigning responsibility to themselves for what happened in Miracle on the 14th. So Jerry and his goat, the wedding dress. I'm sure there probably are other similar traditions in Miracle. These are the ones mentioned. But it's this idea of people assigning too much weight to them.
I just got this. Of course, Nora's blaming herself and Erika's blaming herself.
Mm-hmm. There you go. That's what I was about to lead into.
Yeah. So go ahead. I mean, but yeah, I follow you. I mean, and don't worry about sounding pessimistic. We are talking about the leftovers here.
Right. I was going to say, like, these are the themes of the show, not specifically. I'm not saying what I think. I like to think what I say is important sometimes. But this is what the show's getting at, I think, in this moment. Yeah, and there's another one as well. You mentioned Nora and Erika, and those were two of the ones I was going to point out, how Erika's calling these people out on forcing themselves into these correlations. It's just all about this kind of correlation and forcing correlations, and there's just so many of them going on. I think we hit the main ones. We're going to probably come back to the Erika one, though, because there's more on that later.
Yeah, for sure. Got a lot of notes here. So Nora arrives at Erika's house with the stolen questionnaire and offers it to Erika. Nora explains pointedly that Erika is scared that if she answers the questions, everyone in town will know Evie didn't depart. Erika is curious and invites Nora to come in and ask the questions. Okay, so I got ahead of myself. In the previous scene, when she takes out the goat, she says she departed, because I read that on the subtitles, like I said. So, and we'll get into it, but Erika at the beginning of the scene clearly thinks her child has departed, right? Were you on that thought, that brainwave, that thinking when you saw that scene, that she came away thinking Evie's departed?
She definitely had that air of, not hopelessness, but sort of, it looked like she'd acknowledged defeat.
Right.
And the implication of that is, obviously, they're not going to be able to find her because she's departed.
Okay. So I did write out some things, and I didn't want to just play this whole conversation. I just tried to write out some bullet points, and it turned into a lot. So I pointed out that Nora was tripping up on the word lens when they were talking about did the departed wear contact lenses. Nora is second guessing that Erika doesn't remember the last words Evie said to her, which Erika brings back to Nora later. Erika withdrew money and planned to leave John. We heard Erika's retelling of the bird in the box myth from her grandmother and believing after the 14th, or that before the 14th, that Jordan was in fact chosen. Now Erika finding the bird, she buried the bird, she dug it up, made the wish, a wish that Evie would be okay when she left John, and the bird flew out, and the next day her daughter was gone. So, you know, I kind of in the notes here need to split it here just because I think right around here is when Nora goes into trying to destroy Erika's thinking by saying that she had thought losing her children was her own fault, but she had moved past it, quote unquote. And then Erika's thoughts were pathetic and that the disappearance had nothing to do with her. Now, after watching it this time, first of all, you get a sense of where Erika really was at the end of season 1. This is the other callback to the end of Access Monday, where the last shot is her on the kitchen table crying, right? This is the last shot of the first episode of the season. So there's so much more built into that now because you know that she buried a bird and the bird flew away the day before. And maybe that the wish granted was her daughter being called up because that's the way she would be kept safe if her mother left John, her husband. But right here is where the conversation, I think, really turns, and I think Erika starts putting the pieces of Nora together in her mind and maybe coming back to this conclusion that Nora was the one who threw the rock in the window. That's just an opinion. I don't know when that exactly happens, but I feel like it's right around here in the back of her mind. That's kind of conjecture on my part. Erika asked Nora the one question she hasn't spoken about. Where were her children, dead or departed? Nora seems taken aback and tells her they departed. Erika asks, what were the last words you, to the best of your recollections, said? What were the last words they said to you, to the best of your recollection? Then Nora leaves crying and dismantled. Okay, so sorry for the long-windedness there. It's like the best scene in the history of television, almost, as far as I'm concerned. Hyperbole or not, there it is. What do you think about it?
Well, I mean, I've seen the good and the bad and the ugly, and I've seen, and I'm sure you've seen, the final showdown with the guns at the hips and the eyes and the music and that masterpiece. It's on a, I don't know, it's on a pretty similar level to that in terms of tension. You have this epic kind of showdown between these two amazing characters. And obviously there's no guns involved, and it's not the Wild West, but that's the same kind of feeling I was having watching this. That's kind of the best comparison I can draw. Is you're waiting for this. You're waiting who's gonna pull first, who's gonna shoot.
And shots were fired.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Nora. Yeah, Nora shot first. She kind of, but that was preemptive, really, from her. No, yeah, there's a lot going on. The first thing I wanted to go back to was the topic I kind of been waiting all episode to get to, which is Erika's story about the birds and her implication that it's her fault that Evie disappeared. And so we've just seen in the previous episode how Erika really kind of lays into Jerry and unnamed wedding dress woman. And she calls them out on this weird belief that they were the cause of everybody surviving, and this kind of correlation that just isn't there. At the time, we're kind of with her, and we're like, okay, that makes sense. And then now she's coming back, and she's doing the exact same thing. And she's saying, it's my fault that Evie disappeared. Even though we've literally seen, maybe not even 5-10 minutes before, her in one of the most kind of powerful scenes yet, rip people apart that believe in a similar kind of correlation. So that was definitely the first thing that popped into my mind, was like, okay, a little bit contradictory. And then we get Nora, who comes in and kind of tries to sweep that aside, and she's like, Nora calls out Erika. I mean, there's a lot of people calling each other out in this episode. Nora calls out Erika, and she's saying, no, why are you doing this? It's nothing to do with you. And it's kind of pathetic that you would think that. But we've just seen earlier in the episode, Nora is literally like sat against the kitchen wall on the verge of tears, because in her mind she's realizing, or she's thinking, she was responsible for both the family and Evie's disappearance. And so there's a little bit of contradiction coming from Nora as well. So both sides of this, you've got these like just so many contradictions just flying around, and it's this whole.
Well, it's a lot of people taking out their personal pain with the exact same things they see in other people, but throwing the swords at them.
Mm-hmm. And it's always easier to spot it in other people than yourself. So.
And yeah, and now that I'm thinking about it and talking to you, the speech Nora is giving Erika is probably the speech Nora has given herself a million times in her head.
Mm-hmm.
I think Nora chooses a bad timing. This is still very fresh,
mm-hmm.
but it would be ridiculous to think that one person caused the vanishing of 40 million people or whatever it is. Yeah, I mean, the scene almost speaks for itself, but it's just all inspiring.
Yeah, and from a technical perspective, it was really cool to watch in that a lot of scenes in The Leftovers, they use this really powerful Leftovers score that, and they should, rightly so, they've spent a lot of time putting the work in to make that music so powerful. So when they use it, it's well done. But this is one of the scenes where, as far as I remember, there's really no music. And it's just this kind of back and forth, it's this like shot, reverse shot, real close-ups of Nora and Erika's face, no music, but yet the tension is so tangible. And I think that speaks to the quality of the directing, the acting, all that. It just sort of stands on its own, and it doesn't even need a supporting soundtrack to make it so good.
I think you're right, and one of the questions I had here is always my fascination with how these things are made. Like, you see this thing on the page, and do you just trust that people of Carrie Coon and Regina King's caliber are going to elevate it, and then you get this back, and, you know, it's more than you probably ever possibly dreamed of.
Yeah, and it's not the first time that Carrie Coon's carried. There you go. Carrie Coon's carried a scene without the music. There's that moment in the finale of season 1 where she comes downstairs and sees the loved ones' dolls, and that's a really powerful scene. And again, if I remember correctly, that's done without the use of a soundtrack. So she's got the chops for it. And
it's also, you know, good actors, if they get a better actor or just as good as actor, it only makes them better, depending on the material. And you can argue Regina King is the most popular actress in the world right now. She won an Oscar last year for something. She was just in Watchmen. Of course, I'm a Lindelof fanboy, so I was all over that. She's the lead in that. I have a poster now over on my wall. And my favorite thing she does, and you can pick it up if you watch it again, is she's acting with her whole body. Like, I know it's a close-up on the faces, but if you watch her, her whole body is swaying with, like, anger and grief as she's, you know, she's doing her head shake, but it's the whole body. And, you know, it's just amazing to watch. You know, if we have any hardcore Leftovers fans here still listening, I might get yelled at for not mentioning the eyelash. Now, did you notice the eyelash?
I noticed that Nora and Erika have eyelashes.
Okay, so this took me literally 28 watches. I don't know. That's literally no. 28 watches. I feel like it took me a long time to watch and notice this, and I heard people talking about it. On Nora's face, on the close-up, there is an eyelash on her cheek. And the conversations I heard were about, did they know that was there? Did they leave that there on purpose? And I guess the conclusion the internet came up with is, yes, everything on the show has meaning. Everything has a purpose. The tradition with eyelashes on your cheek is you blow it off and you make a wish. You blow it off because you notice someone has an eyelash that fell on their cheek. You blow it off and make a wish. And in all this conversation, you know, there's an eyelash there on the cheek and then up close. So they saw it. It was, you know, these were as up close as faces get on screen. And then in one of the switches, it's gone, and they are talking about their wishes in the scene. So I want to mention the eyelashes. Pretty deep.
I got to pay more attention in the future. I feel like we're gonna finish this, and then I'm gonna be, once I finish it, I'm obviously gonna go out and I'm gonna, you know, watch some of these podcasts, and I'm gonna see this stuff and think, damn it, why didn't I notice that?
Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna
try and do better.
Give you all the good ones. These are the people I live up to. I mean, I don't have any more about the scene because so much has been said, and it's just brilliant to watch.
One thing I said, I think, to you straight after this episode, straight after it finished, was that it was really not what I expected, in that from the beginning of the season, I felt like we were building towards a huge John versus Kevin showdown, which there's still time for that to happen. But at least so far, that really hasn't been the case. Kevin is a kind of a wreck, and it's more like Nora and Erika. That's the big showdown, and that's what we've just seen here. So it sort of took me by surprise, this whole episode, and this moving in this direction, because it just wasn't what I was expecting. I knew there would be some kind of conflict between the Durst, Kevin and Nora.
You can call them the Dursts. They're basically the Dursts.
The Durst, right? Well, she's definitely wearing the pants in this relationship,
right,
so
right.
I'll call them the Durst. And the Murphys, but I just didn't expect it to come in this way.
And this is kind of like the Nora episode this season, but she has to share it with Erika.
Mm.
And again, I can't say enough. This is the scene. I don't know if you watched The Good Place.
Yeah, I haven't finished it yet, but I do watch it.
Okay, well, I will. This is not a spoiler for the last episode, but there's a line in the last episode where Maya Rudolph, as that judge, comes into a meeting, and before she sits down, she says, "I just rewatched The Leftovers. Are you telling me Carrie Coon wasn't nominated?" And I don't care about awards, but every time that I see someone win an Academy Award or an Emmy that used to be on the show, I say yes. That's for you finally got your Leftovers gold. That's what I said when Regina King got her Oscar. That's what I said when Ann Dowd got her Emmy. I don't know where I was going with that, but I don't. This is the scene. This is one of the scenes that people submit for Emmys and stuff, and it's just like I said, we're going to talk about critical response to the show, but at this point in the series, the write-ups and the recaps are starting to get a little bit of headlines on trades and websites, but no one's watching the show. There's 750,000 people watching the show a week, which in this world of television is nothing.
That's less than the amount of people watching this podcast.
Yeah. No comment there. It's just so I can say how good Regina King is. Just great. So we've just seen the best acting of two. And what you said about Erika or Kevin and John is correct. We still got some season left.
Mm-hmm.
All I can say. Now, we've just seen, in my mind, the greatest acting two people can ever do. Nora leaves. She has thrown the daggers at Erika. Erika has thrown the daggers right back and harder. And Nora is devastated. And it looks like she just wants to go home and forget that she's being a horrible person. And go to bed. And thank God Kevin was there to take care of Mary and the baby for her. I'm going to read about this last scene, and then we'll talk some, okay?
Yeah.
A broken Nora comes home to Kevin, who has something to tell her. She begs off, but he is insistent. He tells her he has been seeing Patti Levin, that she has been following him around and talking to him. He says she is there right now. He tells her Patti says he should not have told Nora, and he has just made a big mistake. Before Nora can take any of this in, a rock comes crashing into the house. Nora can see Erika through the freshly smashed window. And then we get I Am a Rock by Simon and Garfunkel. And that's the end of the episode. So in an episode where we have that scene that we just talked about at length, we get a not bad, beyond not bad acting job by Justin Theroux.
Yeah.
And kind of in one foul throw of a rock, our story is shifted back to Kevin Garvey, who's almost been absent this entire episode. And just you can't say enough about the performances and the story going on here.
Kevin. Yeah. It's so good, man. When I see him, and I don't see many, I try not to watch too many of these just in case I get any spoilers in my suggested videos. But when I watch Justin Theroux on talk shows, and he's there and he's just being Justin, and he's just laughing along, talking. Part of me when I'm watching that is I feel like that's the act, because this portrayal of Kevin Garvey feels so real that I'm like, come on, Justin, this isn't you. We've all seen the real you. It's Kevin, but maybe that's because I watched him in the show before I watched him anywhere else. So it's kind of like, this is a really bad analogy, but when you have the baby duck and the first thing they see is like, okay, that's their mum. I'm not saying Kevin's my mum, but because it's the first place I've seen him really in any serious kind of acting. This is my Kevin, and like this is just how I see Justin grow, and so it does throw me when I see him acting normally. Obviously, I'm happy that he's happy in real life. I don't want him to be like Kevin in real life, but it's just a testament to his job in this that it throws me so much.
And let's we have enough of guys that work out of their basements talking about Hollywood actors, but that's what we're doing. I'm in my basement anyway. People think he came out of nowhere for this. I did. I mean, I didn't really know of him or hear of him. If you watch, he's one of these guys. If you watch anything, we were talking about Parks and Recreation. I've been watching he was in season 5, an episode of that.
He was.
Yeah, he's in Parks and Recreation. He's been in Sex and the City playing 4 different people. He co-wrote or wrote the movie Tropic Thunder.
Oh, yeah.
He was in Zoolander.
No, yeah.
He wrote Zoolander with Ben Stiller. He's been around for a very, very, very long time acting. And, people go through these processes of auditioning and they get to a peak where they're just missing out on parts for like a very long time on the big parts. And this is his big moment. And man, it's ridiculous, isn't it? How good he is. And, and I don't want to seem like this is not to take away anything from the scene before. We just talked about it because it was the scene before it. It just happened to be like, what else does Nora need after that? She needs she needs Justin Theroux telling him the best way possible that he's got a dead person talking to her. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't say enough. I'm going to stop now because it's just going to be me blathering on about actors. But it's a fantastic episode. It ends with Simon and Garfunkel. Right. If you listen to the lyrics to I Am a Rock, it describes Nora, I think, more than anyone. But it can also describe Erika. But it can also describe, it could also just mean the rock that got thrown through the window. Hmm. So it goes without saying, we just had our 13th straight Justin Theroux is Dreamy section of the podcast.
We might miss it for a sec.
Right. I think we're going to end the podcast here. We still have more to go on the leftovers today because we're going to sit down and watch A Most Powerful Adversary. Right? You're going to do that today?
Uh-huh.
Okay. We might try to record that and see what Benji's face looks like at some of the fun parts. Thanks again, man. I got to tell you, this is the highlight of my week so far, the past couple weeks. So thanks for being here.
Yeah,